Hello survivors and welcome to another video. In this video we are going to be checking out the season store for season 4 and just going through each of the characters, and I'm going to go through the characters which I think are worth picking up. There are obviously 3 5-stars and 3 5-star ascendable characters in here, 2 of them being unique 5-star ascendables and 1 of them being a air quotes returning 5-star ascendable, in that it's a character that's already been released before. But first I just want to quickly bring your attention to the League store. There is a crate on the far right hand side if you are in Platinum. It could be open to everybody. I'm not 100% sure who this is open to. This is a seasonal reward and it has 1 of every trainer in it. Obviously it's going to fill up your roster quite quickly, so just make sure you open this during a level up where you want to use the majority of them or sell the majority of the ones that you don't want. And as you can see, a lot of the gear has been increased to 12 in stock. It looks like everything has pretty much been doubled in stock. As you can see, down here is the canteens. The important thing to notice is the Letterman jacket and the baseball cap has remained at the exact same amount that you can buy, so it's going to take you the exact same amount to buy this gear for the unique characters in the store. And also the mods, be it the gold mods and the mods in the gold section of the store as well, are both the same amount that they were before. So we'll look at the characters, and as you can see, we've got Regina and Charlie, which I did a video about when they were first released. We also have Cal as that returning ascendable, and the 3 5-stars are Ezekiel, Earl Sutton, and Caroline. I'm going to start with the 5-stars first. We'll start from right to left, and we'll kick things off with Caroline. So Caroline as a 5-star was a bit of a running joke, if I'm honest. She wasn't seen as the best character at all. She wasn't seen as a great character at all. Most people hated getting 1 of her, and there are people who had multiple of her. She was in the 5-star wheel for a very long period, so the majority of people will have probably 1 in their roster if they have been playing for a while. However, if you don't have 1 in your roster, you never know. I always say this every season pretty much. You never know whether these characters are ever going to become ascendable, or they could become ascendable soon. They could become ascendable in like 6 months, you know, a year, and you could potentially get this character in that time. So generally, there's 2 options you've got to look for with Caroline. If you're a big Caroline fan, for whatever reason you've always wanted her, she does have a good look. You have to say that in terms of her sort of get up with the gas mask and everything. She does look cool. Her rush isn't that great. You've got to try and figure out what kind of 6-star that would even turn into. She has got parting shot as a 5-star. Parting shot is not seen as a 6-star specialist skill, so that would potentially change if she did become a 6-star. But I would say avoid her unless you're, like I said, a really big fan. You could potentially pick her up with word update. She's not a spectacular 5-star, so she's probably going to be in the 5-star token wheel in the future, and she could be in Ascendance updates, so you're probably going to get your hands on her at some point anyway. Next up we have Earl Sutton, and he is a strange one. He's one of the first characters to do this, where he debuffs himself as well as buffing himself. I did test it out on my live stream, but you can actually resist that second part of the rush in terms of the defense down. If you have a defense down resist mod, it could potentially be decent in that case. If he was to become a 6-star, I think they'd probably shed that, just because it was a test, maybe, and it wasn't a good look. And he wasn't actually an early 5-star. He was one of the late 5-stars. He was one of the 5-stars that never really got released and then just came out randomly. Same with the 3-star Earl, just randomly came out quite late. He has got a leader skill, and it is a drop bonus. So if he did become a 6-star, he could potentially be a drop leader. But it's hard to say how good he would be. You just don't know what kind of character this guy would turn into. Now, I'm sure there are some Earl fans out there. There are also probably some Earl haters out there as well, no doubt. And whether you want to just collect characters, if you want to get all the characters, I guess you could pick this guy up. But I don't think he's probably that worthwhile just as a 5-star for sure. He's not going to add anything in any part of the game for you. At least Caroline potentially could do something on like SR or something like that, but even then, I don't think she's that great either. So you're better off, especially if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of tokens, you're better off holding onto your tokens and trying to get a 5-star ascendable either this season or in future seasons. So the last 5-star is Ezekiel, and He's probably the only 5-star in here where I'd actually recommend picking him up if you don't have him already, just because he is part of multiple museum collections in terms of just getting those completed. There are some pretty decent rewards in there. There's some bennies, there's some war cans, and he is hard to come by. There's not many places you can actually find him. He's pretty much only in the supply depot, and at full price he costs 55,000, and I think on sale, I can't really remember, it's like, is it 37,500? Even that is still quite a lot of supply depot points. And in the store here, he's only 6,000 season tokens, so you've got to try and compare. Like, if you've got hundreds and hundreds of thousands of supply depot points, maybe it's different, but most people don't roll around with huge amounts, and there are some better characters in there. If you don't have Eric already, for instance, Eric's a great pickup in the supply depot. You want to save your supply depot tokens for him, and you don't want to waste it on someone like Ezekiel just to complete some museum collections. There aren't too many characters that are worth picking up, you know, within the 5 stars, unless you're a big fan. Like last season there was Clementine, for instance. So yeah, I would say pick up Ezekiel. I'm going to be doing that on one of my regions because I don't have him already, and he's going to complete a lot of museum collections for me, so it's going to be nice. The completionist in me is going to be happy. Okay, so we'll get on to the big characters now, and it's the 3 ascendable 5 stars. We've got the returning 5-star ascendable in Cal, and then Charlie and Regina. I'm just going to break down Cal, and I don't think he's like the most amazing 6-star on paper. For some reason, both the Cals have really low defense. I'm not really sure why, but I have seen him used a couple of times on very like niche teams, these percentage AP weapon teams, where he can go off really quickly, and obviously 3 of your team are going to be impaired for 1 turn, and he can basically make it, if you've got the right setup, he can make it really difficult for your attacking team. In terms of using him on an attack team, he could potentially work there as well. He could give you an extra turn. Not many people use impair resist on their defense teams, and the fact that he obviously has neutralize is a big bonus. You've just got to make sure that you raise that guy's defense, regardless of if you use him on attack or defense. That is such low defense. He's basically got the same defense as a 5-star. Even though he is generation 1, it still should have been better. He has got an attached weapon as well, so he has got impair on defense base on his weapon. So if you're new to the game, you're not going to have that maxed out armory. You're already going to have like a character that hasn't got a window on your team, which is actually pretty useful on a defense team. And it's already got 30% HP, which is a nice defensive stat. But I'd probably say you kind of need to switch that up for defense just because of how flimsy this guy is. So for me, I'm going to say picking up Cal would not be a bad way to go. In terms of him versus the unique characters, the problem you've always got with the unique characters is this may be the only way you can ever get unique characters. None of the previous seasons have ever come back. They're likely to never come back. So if you miss out, you're basically missing out forever. Whereas Cal is always going to be in the game. He's going to pop up in other wheels. So I wouldn't maybe make him your priority. But if you get enough season tokens by the end of the season, I would definitely pick him up just because he is a rarer 5-star ascendable. He's not a commonplace one, and he's going to be fairly useful in multiple parts of the game. His damage output isn't too bad with that base attack as well. So now we'll look at the unique characters, and I did do a big breakdown video of these 2 characters, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I definitely say Charlie is a character. You should definitely pick this guy up. I did do a video just yesterday in terms of this character's going to be fixed in terms of his weapon is currently broken in that it works on defense rather than on attack. And taunt on attack, 100% chance. That means if you use him on an attack team, that very first attack of a raid has a 100% chance to taunt someone without taunt resist. So if there's a shield or a revive, anything, you can just taunt them that first turn. Obviously, if you taunt a revive, it doesn't make much difference because they're going to gain AP just from attacking you. But attacking a shield would be really good, obviously, so they can't shield the rest of their team for that turn. And potentially, you can just lock that shield with basic attacks over and over again. Now, Charlie is a little bit slow in terms of he's got 76 AP. He won't work in some of those super speedy fast teams, and you'd have to upgrade his weapon as well. And you probably wouldn't want to lose that weapon special either, just because it is a unique. Now, he has got a unique specialist skill as well. It's the first time we've ever had this one in the game, and it is potentially a really strong one. If this character's HP is below 75%, he will get 50% AP at the start of their turn. Now, he is a fast character with bleed as well, and obviously with Michelle in the current event that's just ending, if you get her, the synergy between Charlie and Michelle could be actually pretty decent, especially if you've got like a lacerator character in there as well, like a Shiva, if you've got a Shiva, or a Davy, those characters are going to synergize with Charlie, Michelle really, really nicely. So I'd say Charlie should be a pickup for everybody just because he's a unique character, he's got a unique specialist skill, his weapon can be utilized very, very nicely against certain teams, and I don't really see him having any true weaknesses. Even his defensive stats aren't that bad. So now when we look at Regina, she's the only one that said there's a couple of question marks about her for me. I'm not 100% certain how good she's going to be, but she is a decapitate, and I did say in my previous video when I was just doing that initial review, you could increase her base attack to be quite high with mods, with weapons, with a leader skill. That can get close to 3,000, so that can get in the region of Tyrese. Those basic attacks with a double attack weapon will do a huge amount of damage, so even her base attacks could decapitate people. You know, I've one-shot Mirabelle's, for instance, before. Mirabelle isn't as widespread as she was previously, but with buffs on her, if you get someone who can buff her, like if you've got a 5-star Kate, the extra 50% damage, those basic attacks are going to start doing a lot of damage. Now, the only problem is obviously her rush does not scale off of her attack. It's always going to be 1,600 main damage. So potentially you could use her in a different way. You could make her quite defensive so she just stays alive and just constantly maims people. It will draw out raids maybe, but at least you've got a better percentage chance to win. You could maybe make Tyrese and Regina work together. So Tyrese is that just instant early burst damage, turn 3 or turn 2 command if he gets his AP. Whereas Regina potentially is just going to be like just grinding them down. Not a lot of people have main resist. There are characters that obviously can cleanse it, like you've got Mackenzie and you've got Father Gabriel. They can obviously remove main. And then you could go the way of just trying to make her more of a support character based on the fact that she's got an active skill that could potentially command 2 people. Like I said, if you increase her stats to make her defensive, see her rush as a bonus. I mean, potentially she could be quite a nice offensive character. Just the fact that she's got Decapitate, I'd say she's worth picking up. So that's the end of my video. Do tell me what character you're going to pick up out of these 6. I'm definitely going to pick up the 3 on the left. I don't need Sassy Zeke because I have him on this region, but I'm probably going to pick him up on my other region. So I'm focusing on the ascendable characters, and it's great to see the returning ascendable being actually a good one this season, because last season was a little bit of a letdown, especially after we had Naya in season 2, who I thought was great. Even though I don't think she's ultra usable, she's just quite fun. But that's the end of my video, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.